Good afternoon, Professor Brown. I greatly appreciate it that you're taking the time and helping me with this assignment. It is an assignment for my entrepreneurship class. I have to come up with a need and create a organization that fulfills that need or a product of some kind. So I'm going to read to you the concept that I have developed, and then we'll go and talk about what do you feel, how that kind of could be an idea or a possibility or not. So
sounds good.
Here's the concept. The concept is that Dallas Total Recycling provides a drop-off locations for various recycling goods. The sites are operated and maintained by individuals that currently live at the margin. Dallas Total Recycling sells the recycled goods to producers and manufacturers that can repurpose those goods. This will help the DFW community in several levels. First, it will reduce the amount of trash that lands in landfills. Secondly, it reduces the new resources used to manufacture goods. And lastly, it will help to give individuals living at the margin the ability to re-enter to society by giving them value and a purpose. So this is the overall concept. The first thing that I like to talk with you is who I feel I identified as possible consumers of this service. I identified obviously the general DFW Metroplex residents, specifically people that are eco-friendly, conscientious, and want to make a real effort to help the planet and the environment. And secondly, I thought that individuals that support a charitable organization, somebody that is trying to make a difference and helping people. So those are the two groups that I mainly identified. What do you feel for yourself? Would that be something that you would be interested in as a consumer? And do you feel that those two groups that would be possible groups?
I'm so sorry, my dog's barking. Mo, come here. Sorry, the mailman came through. Yes, I actually do. And I will tell you, I'm a big recycler, and you probably know that about me. And so I'm actually really glad to be able to talk to you about this project. So I believe wholeheartedly in recycling. I will tell you, have always dropped my plastic bags at Target when I go into Target. Well, during COVID, they stopped doing that. So I'm actually seeking a place where I can do exactly what you're talking about, because I started saving plastic bags at the beginning of the pandemic, and plastic bags and recyclables. I mean, I'm so glad you're talking about this. I didn't know this was your project. I cannot believe the amount of plastic bag use that we have, from unwrapping paper towels, unwrapping toilet paper, bags for bread, all of that stuff. I have 7 huge trash bags full of clean plastic bags. So, and I've taken pictures and sent them to friends, and I challenge them to do this same thing and collect your stuff. And people are really turning into being very eco-friendly these days. So this is such a timely project, and something I would use, and the people you've identified would be excellent consumers. It's something that you can do so easily, yet it's just, you feel so good about it, It's like returning your shopping cart. I always say, you can always tell what kind of person someone is by if they take the shopping cart back and put it away. You know what it is? Right. It's not the law. It's not required. It's just, are you a good person?
It's decency.
Decency. And if you were to bring this service, it just is that little extra pat on my back. It makes me feel like I'm doing something really good. So I love your idea.
Would you feel that there is the two main groups that I identified would be the main one, or would you see another group of possible users for that?
Remind me, okay, your two groups are which ones?
So eco-conscientious individuals and people that want to support a good cause with the giving people that live at the margin a possibility to have a workplace or re-entry into society. And in a good cause in a way is as well, helping the environment, but that is kind of covered with that first group.
Yeah, I think those are two great groups. And the other groups, which honestly may overlap into it, that I would even suggest to you is like moving companies. I saw a moving company recently and they were unpacking a bunch of stuff. A neighbor was moving and they were unpacking for them and they had so much wrapping. And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope they're recycling that. You know what I mean? So moving companies, that would be an easy thing for them. Like if you hooked up with them to be able to say, we support this company. Like they could like put it like on the side of their van, right? I mean, it's like we recycle all of our plastic because they create so much plastic. And restaurants and shoppings and stores, like I saw them unpacking some stuff at the Gap one day. And like if I order something from the Gap or wherever, it's wrapped in plastic. But like what I didn't realize is that a lot of times they ship that same stuff to the Gap store, unwrap that plastic, and I'm like, I sure hope they're recycling that plastic. So maybe those are other groups, but probably would overlap into the ones you identified already, but just some more like specific.
So more towards businesses versus individuals. So
you could do too, I mean, but a lot of times individuals are part of businesses, obviously, and they would love the idea. So.
Roger. Okay, then leading into the second one, I mean, a lot of communities offer these days a recycling service. We actually very recently added a recycling service to our condo complex because Dallas is starting to track down on that. If you do not offer any, you get actually fined. I believe that was the threat that we got. So we did implement the recycling service, but it is still mind-blowing to me the amount of things that they do not accept.
Agreed.
Very limited things that they're taking, but there's such a wide variety of things that still would be able to be recycled. They're like, we don't want to deal with it, or whatever the purpose is. And I think the same thing is with those citywide, whatever town you live in, there are restrictions what you can put in recycling and whatnot. And so having the ability to add items that go beyond that regular list, and I feel like you have to, even though you want to cover the extent, the extra, you still have to take that regular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, if I go and recycle anyway, I'll just bring everything there. Versus doing like, okay, this goes here and this goes here. So the things that I wrote down as a possibility for recycling is the obvious, like newspapers, magazines. I put down books because we have as well a lot of books and they can be recycled. I thought even offering a shredding service where you don't have to pay for it. You just go and shred it yourself, and then those bags can still, the shred goods can still be used for recycling.
It's a great idea.
Aluminum, batteries, electronics, wood. Those are the things that I thought. And with wood, I thought of furniture that you can't give to one of the resale places because it is actually broken. But it's still perfectly good to be repurposed, use the wood and whatever, break it down in its pieces, give somebody work to do. And then we still can use those items again to make something else rather than just, okay, this piece is no good anymore, let's just put it on the landfill. So do you see any items that you feel, nah, that's really not necessary that I put down? Or do you see other things that you came up with? One of the people I interviewed came up with paint that I found really a good thing because of like chemicals, where do you go and dispose of those? Because if you're not a city of Dallas property owner, live in a condo or whatnot, you cannot use the Dallas recycling place. You're not allowed to. because
I did not know that.
because you don't pay sewage and you don't pay the garbage fee to the city, and so they don't let you use their recycling station.
Okay, I never knew that.
Perfectly sense. But imagine all those people living in an apartment complex across the metroplex. There's so many people that we could otherwise use this service. So that's why I'm asking, is there anything else that you think that I should add to that list, or something that I should just take off?
You have glass and plastic on your list. You obviously.
Yeah.
I love the idea of wood, because I have a wooden, just as a side example, I have an outdoor wooden picnic table that I've had for a long time, and I love it, but it's getting kind of threadbare, sort of, for lack of a better word. And I'm like, where do I take this, you know? And so I'm like, I don't want to just go throw it in the landfill. So I love that idea. The one other thing I always think about, is there a way to recycle mattresses on any level, as opposed to just throwing them into like a landfill? I don't know the answer to the question.
Okay.
But mattresses are one of those things that every time I've ever bought a new mattress, I'm like, they haul away the old one. I'm like, what do you do with it? Like, we take it to a landfill. I'm like, oh my gosh, there has to be some way to make this better situation.
I think it matters how it's composed.
Right.
I mean, the old mattresses are all spring ones. You just take the fabric off, and then you can recycle the metal. One person I talked to yesterday would love to have a solution for clothing, for fabric.
I was just about to say that. It was just so, like, sometimes there's just fabrics. I mean, I always make a point to donate anything that is in great shape. But what about things that, let me just give you an example. I have two little boys, and they outgrow their socks all the time. And socks just get threadbare. You're not going to donate them. I'm like, how do we recycle clothing fabric? Like, how do we recycle socks? They've got holes in them, so they're not good to give to anybody. But like, I hate that they just go sit in a landfill. So like, is there a way to start some sort of like a recycling, like for cotton or fabric? That would be an awesome thing.
Yeah, somebody else suggested that, and I have no clue if there's actually a method to repurpose whatever material the clothing is made of. So those are things. Okay, I put down the mattress, and the is a repeat, so I'll put that for sure down. Okay, then the last point that we're going to talk about is why doing this. What need are we fulfilling, and is there actually that need there? So I said, as a need, or the reason why is because we live in this area here and we love where we live. But if we don't take care of it, we may encounter a really awful winter storm. Can you imagine, in Texas? And or you have heat that makes a space unlivable. Or you have so much pollution that you can't live anymore, because you can't barely go outside, because you either smell it or it actually affects your water and whatnot. So those are the reasons why I feel we have a need to take care of our environment. And the second thing is, we have to find ways to help people that live at the margin, to give them entry points and help them to re-enter society in a way that gives them value and purpose. And any stories out there that through similar projects, stuff can be, that their lives can be turned around completely, just because somebody gave them a chance. This is kind of the two whys that I thought would be why I would want to do this. Do you have something else? Do you feel like I don't see one of those points, or would you add another point?
I think you have excellent points. I think you have absolutely excellent points. It's something, again, for both groups, that's so easy to do. It makes you feel so good. And it's like, it's just such an easy thing to do. But I also think the more, purpose we can find for people that are coming out of they're marginalized, I think is such a good thing, because again, it's such a feel good thing, and it makes you feel like you're just doing your part, right? A lot of times I have students who, have been living in homeless shelters, or living in, multiple people in a community, whatever it may be, and they have a lot of struggles, and they're like, doing anything that makes me feel, quote, normal, right? Like makes me feel like a normal, like I'm helping out society. A couple years ago, just one quick example, I had a student who had been homeless for a long time, and I started a food drive, and he kept bringing in food, and I said, don't feel like you gotta bring in food, my gosh. And he said, no, this makes me feel normal to be able to contribute to, even though it's hard, like it makes me feel like I'm doing my part. And so I love your idea about the marginalized individuals, that giving people a purpose, because it's like a domino effect. It makes you feel really good to do something that you think is going to help contribute to saving our earth,
So it's like double whammy.
This is just an excellent plan.
So
you're awesome.
Thank you.
You are.
So I was inspired by what I saw what they do in Switzerland, because there is a large recycling stations that they have, that they recycle things that we don't even think about here to recycle. And that just kind of was my inspiration with my background that I have. It was so normal to do it, and it was almost like abusive to stop doing that behavior when I'm
totally.
So I greatly appreciate your time. This is just that was it pretty much already. So I have more information that I can add to my concept.
Awesome.
Make it more detailed and work more in detail on it. So
it's so good to see you.
Your time. Thank you so very much, and we'll see where this goes.
Yay. Okay, so you did, how many more semesters do you have?
I have a couple of more semesters. Let me put this here.